Another Xbox Live Arcade game? Sure, why not? Here's Hydrophobia. Released in September of 2010, this was a highly hyped game from Microsoft Studios. But after its release, this game received very polarizing reviews. Some critics felt that this game was great, while some felt that the game was garbage. And what do I think? Well, let's take a look at this game and find out. This game starts off in the distant future on a giant ship named the Queen of the World. This ship is roughly the size of a small city and was created due to a massive flood covering the Earth. As the game begins, you take on the persona of Kate Wilson, an engineer on the ship who is awakened as the ship is celebrating its 10-year anniversary. But during the festivities, the ship is attacked by a terrorist organization named the Malthusians. This group believes that in order for humanity to survive, they must kill off a large amount of the population in order to prevent overpopulation of the planet and to start humanity all over again. It's up to Kate and her partner Scoot to stop the Malthusians from carrying out their plan to sink the ship. Well, that's pretty much it for the story. So, now the reviewing. The graphics for this game are decent. The environments look pretty good, as does the water itself. Hey, you'd be surprised how many games have water that looks horrible. The character models, however, are hit and miss. The main characters, such as Kate and Scoot, look decent. However, every single terrorist you encounter is identical. So, either they didn't bother reskinning the enemies, or every single enemy on the ship is related. As for the gameplay, well, let's start with the positives. There are some cool features, such as hacking and decrypting codes. Hacking has you pull up your PDA and use the left and right joysticks in order to attempt to match the wavelength on the computer. This starts off easy early on, but as you progress through the game, the wavelengths get distorted, so it becomes more difficult to hack. Decrypting codes has you pull out your PDA and attempt to find a hidden code written somewhere on the wall. Once found, this code can open an encrypted door, which will allow you to progress through the story. Along with standard combat, this game has a decent amount of platforming segments. These segments are fairly well put together and aren't too hard to figure out. The combat system is your standard third-person shooter mechanic with a cover mechanic thrown in for good measure. When you fight, you use a single pistol and just gather different types of ammunition for different effects. The standard ammo you use is called sonic rounds. These rounds allow you to charge your shots for maximum effect. There are also semi-automatic and fully automatic rounds, which are self-explanatory. And then there are gel and energy rounds. Gel rounds act as a remote explosive, which you can detonate at will. And energy rounds act similarly, but electrocute enemies instead of blowing them up. Although you have 5 different types of ammo from which to choose, it usually takes multiple shots to take out the enemies. But not to worry. This ship is not only filled with a conspicuous amount of exploding barrels, it is also possible to shoot loose panels on walls in order to flood enemies, or even shoot electrical circuits to fry them. One massive problem with the combat system is the extremely sporadic AI. They may try to flank you, charge you, or they may ignore you altogether. The problem is, there's no rhyme or reason to any of their actions at any given time. The second problem with the combat system is the controls altogether. This game's controls are inverted by default, which if you didn't already know drives me insane. Now, you could change this, but it doesn't make much difference, which brings me to my video game pet peeve number 2. A horrible camera. This camera system allows you to control your camera angle 360 degrees, but like many games, in close quarters it can go haywire. For example, watch this. I promise you, I'm not doing this on purpose. I am legitimately trying to leave this room, but I look like a drunken idiot. Fortunately, this isn't much of an issue while you're swimming, which is good considering there are many segments in which areas of the ship flood, and you must swim your way out. This main campaign is split up into 3 chapters, which will run you about 3 to 4 hours, as this title is intended to be just part 1 of a trilogy. After beating the campaign, you unlock the Challenge Room mode. This mode allows you to use a newfound power named Hydrokinesis. This allows you to control the water to your will. You get to use this power to fight through 5 waves of enemies, each wave tougher than the last. Beating these waves allows you to post your high score on Xbox Live. So, in conclusion, what are my overall thoughts on this game? Well, you know what this game reminds me of? Alpha Protocol. I greatly enjoyed the story of that game, and it had some interesting features. However, an interesting story and some cool features are not enough to carry a game. And that's the case with this game. It has some interesting elements, but not enough to warrant picking it up. I would recommend just saving the $10 and putting it towards another Xbox Live Arcade game, such as Limbo, Braid, or Toy Soldiers. So, until next time, this has been E-Dog. Not hydrophobic, still arachnophobic. See you next time.